In this video, I'm going to show you how to take an STL file and set it up for a 3D print job on the 1200 ES Dimension 3D printer. So I'm going to use the traditional software that it came with called CatalystEX. And when I open that up, you can see sort of our print plate area. You can zoom in and out with your scroll wheel of the mouse. You can press and drag to rotate, and you can go back to its normal views by right-clicking and clicking whichever view you want. So we're going to go up here to File. I'm going to do Open, and I'm going to locate the STL file that I'd like to use. So I'm going to go with this one here. We'll go with that one there. And I'm going to click Open. So now it sort of identifies the units it was built in versus what it was saved as. So in this case it says it's very small. Do I want to change it to inches? And the answer is yes on that one, because that one was saved in an inch file system. So it's usually pretty smart to choose for you if it's incorrect, whether it be too big or too small. So there's the object. You can kind of see the squares relative to the squares that are on the actual print plate in the 3D printer. And each one of those represents an inch here. So that kind of gives you a visual guide of how big something is, but it also tells us down here its actual size. So the actual component, if I click on it, I can have my properties over here. So the resolution, so in this particular printer we only have two choices. The 0.01 is a little bit cleaner of a print, so I almost always go with that unless I just need some really rough, quick print. Obviously the thicker layer is going to go faster. Likewise with the interior setting, as to whether or not it's solid, high density, or low density. Low density or high density, they both create a honeycomb pattern. The low density is a bigger one, so essentially it saves on material and it also reduces the time. So I'm going to leave that one sort of right there in the middle at high density. You can see if you want multiple copies, you can change the units and the scale if you needed to. The support, so this particular printer prints a soluble material both underneath as well as anywhere it sees fit to support anything with an overlap. So for example, this little ledge here, without printing a support material, it would potentially collapse on itself during a print because there's nothing but air underneath of it, and it may just sort of droop down during the print. So it's going to we'll leave it on smart, and that tends to work the best. It puts it where it needs it. So once I have that, I can go to orientation. So in here, there is an auto orient button, and that works well sometimes. Or if you have a particular face that you want down, you can choose on the face and then actually click whether you want that face to be bottom, top, or in the front. You can rotate it manually. You can scale it here again. But ultimately you can kind of see however it's positioned. I'm good with that position for this particular print. Next thing, what I want to do is I can say either process STL or add to pack. If I click add to pack, it's going to do that anyway. So I'm going to click add to pack. And what that does is it breaks it down and it adds in our different layers. So you can see the purple represents the soluble material, the red represents the model material. So it's going to show you right off the bat. You can look layer by layer if you needed to, or go to specific layers, but ultimately most of the time that's not necessary. So if I go to the actual pack, you're going to see here's where it places it right smack in the center, and a lot of times that is the best place in terms of the heating, because it heats sort of from the center outward. So if you have a large object, you definitely want it spanning the center, as it will have a tendency to peel up if it's right near an edge and it's only a thin piece. This one's large enough to where I can kind of place that anywhere. So I can put that maybe in the back here, and then closer to this corner. That's the home position for the print head. It actually saves you a little bit of time the closer it is over here, even though it doesn't actually say it on this. Just from experience, the closer to that print head, the less it has to move, the faster the print job actually ends. So this is just an estimate of how long it should take, and it's usually very accurate. It could be, it's very rarely gone over. If anything, sometimes it's a little bit less than that. It also tells you how much material you're using, so if you needed to do a cost breakdown, you can do that simply by taking this times by however much your material costs. So it also tells me up here this is what's left in the cartridges. So here's the support cartridge as well as the model material, and it also tells me the color. So right now it's just the natural color, which is kind of an off-white. It tells me that the status of the printer is idle and it's ready to go. So I can hit print and it's going to send that print job. And you can see sent to printer, and now over there it says pending start. So now I would walk up to the printer and I would hit start model. And that's all there is to it.